And I think teaching can be the best job in the world when you get the environment right in a school. Unfortunately, because of this obsession with the accountability that drives so many schools, a lot of them aren't getting that environment right. And it is so sad to see the impact that's having on teachers, with 1 in 3 teachers leaving the profession in 5 years. We have a huge retention crisis, which stems from this issue around workload. Just a couple of other stats linked to workload here. Teachers work more unpaid overtime than any other profession in England, with working weeks approaching 50 hours. Teachers in England are excessively watched, and only those in one other country, Singapore, are more observed and monitored. Now, I'm very passionate about trying to help teachers, and I think you can be a very effective teacher and have a decent work-life balance. No, I'm being honest, I think you can do that. Who's to blame for this workload issue we have in education? Well, there's lots of different people to blame. We can blame Austed in certain ways. The way that they are now inspecting schools is definitely having an impact on workload. There's no doubt about it. Now, in principle, this move away from SAT scores to more broad and balanced was right in principle. However, the complete and utter lack of empathy from inspectors towards school, given the COVID situation we're still having to deal with, the fact that we're expected to be experts in our subjects. However, there may well be a geography subject leader who didn't actually study geography beyond year 9 at school, which is no reflection on the teacher. They may well be an absolutely fantastic teacher. In smaller schools, you might have teachers leading 3 or 4 different subject areas. And can we just talk about when we're supposed to do all this stuff with our subjects? You know, beyond all that teaching lark, which is quite time consuming. But what I have to say is, when it comes to other areas of workload, Austed cannot be blamed for why teachers are wasting time on certain things. They've made it abundantly clear in their Austed inspection framework about certain things. The DfE have published plenty of information about what it expects, but for me it just doesn't seem that those messages are being filtered to the teachers at the chalk face. So I thought I'd share a video to try and spread the word, use my platform to try and help teachers as much as possible. So most of this comes from this document here, Value Education, Value Educators, from the National Education Union. And so I just thought I'd go through a few of the things it mentions. So first of all, Mocksteds. Can't stand them. This is where you pay an external company who don't work for Austed, have no affiliation, they charge your school, take money from your very tight budget to come and do a mock inspection based on their own view rather than what Osted's is. And the DFC and Austed say here that mock inspections and deep dives are unnecessary and a waste of time. No Sherlock. Mock inspections and deep dives only add to staff workload and do not improve teaching or the educational outcomes of children. I mean, it doesn't need to be said that. Most teachers already know that's common sense, but there we go. Next one, lesson planning. And this I've taken directly from the inspection framework at Austed. Austed will not advocate a particular method of planning, including lesson planning. Then further down, it actually says Austed does not specify how planning should be set out, the length of time it should take, or the amount of detail it should contain. So if you end up wasting most of your PPA copying lesson plans from one document to a school performer that you need to fill in, stop doing it, because it is a waste of time. Next one, marking. Now, I don't understand why schools would still mark when every teacher on this planet knows that oral verbal feedback is the best form of feedback, but there we go. The DfE says that all marking should be meaningful, manageable and motivating. Austed and the DfE are encouraging schools to move away from excessive marking policies, yet some schools aren't listening. So I'm now just going to jump over to the Austed inspection framework again, where it says Austed does not require schools to provide any written record of teachers' oral feedback to pupils. So bin those verbal feedback stamps. They are pointless. The proof is in the pudding. If you've given verbal feedback to your pupils, the evidence will be how the children then act upon that feedback. Austed does not specify the frequency, type or volume of marking and feedback. Why have they separated those two things, by the way? Is that them admitting that they don't think marking is feedback? I don't know. But if you're being told you've got to mark a certain way because that's what Austed want to see, It's there to say that's a load of tosh. Now, I've just highlighted a couple of things here, but in this document that I'll link in the description, it also touches upon things like reports, where teachers, I mean, again, why are you doing more than one written report a year? I don't know. But the fact that some of them can be really lengthy and time consuming is a waste of time, as it says there. You've got other things about observations, which we know send chills down any teacher's spine. Do I think observations can be useful? Absolutely, but it's all about how you choose to do them. Appraisals, other bits and bobs, so you can definitely go and check that out, and hopefully it might open up a discussion in your school. And I'm not doing this video to have a go at SLTs, leaderships, because I know they want the best for their pupils, and most leadership teams I come across are doing an incredible job. But I think it's important to have these discussions, because if Austed are wanting us to go this direction where it's all about subject, deep dives, that sort of thing, something's then got to give. Otherwise, all that's going to happen is we just continue to build workload to the point where teachers are leaving through stress and other reasons. So hopefully you found that useful. I'm often asked for my tips when it comes to workload and finding a better work-life balance, and all I can say is just trying to prioritise things that actually matter. You know, if it's not going to have a direct impact on the teaching and learning in your classroom, just stop doing it. Now, there are lots of ways in which technology can help, and I'd recommend going to my website for some ideas for how technology can help you do your job better and more effectively. But again, the mistake schools make is they might introduce technology to help teachers, but don't let it replace what you've always done. And that's another big obstacle. So rather than technology making your life easier, it ends up adding to workload because it becomes an extra thing you've got to do on top of everything else. But we've got to start using our common sense. We've got to start being trusted. So hopefully we can create an environment where teachers feel valued, appreciated, and then can do the job that so many of them are more than capable of doing.